Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. Mi nombre es Don John Juan y tengo a Michelle Chel aquí. ¿Cómo está usted?
Estoy súper bien. Hola amigos, saludos. Es un placer estar aquí con ustedes, como siempre.
Sí, qué linda estás. Oye,
Gracias.
dinos, ¿de dónde vienes? ¿Cómo es que inicias tu vida en música? Empezaste muy joven, ¿no?
Así es, empecé cuando tenía 3 años, porque empecé a estudiar ballet, ¿verdad? Y luego después de eso, ya a los 13 años, empecé a cantar. Y grabé mi primera canción a los 13 años. Y gracias a Dios pegó fuerte en los Estados Unidos. Y desde entonces empecé mi carrera como cantante.
And how old were you at that time? Tell us in English.
13. I was 13 years old.
You were 13 years old when you first got started.
I was 13, and we did a demo, and it hit. It hit. And so my dad did not want me to sing. Women didn't belong in music.
Oh my goodness.
En ese tiempo, there were not a lot of girls.
Yes.
And so we made a deal. My uncle and I made a deal. One song. If it hit, I would sing. If it didn't, I would dance.
You're playing against the odds there.
I was playing against the odds. My dad did not want it to hit. He did not think it would hit. He was hoping it would not hit, and it did.
What was the song?
It was called Junto a Ti.
Can you give us a little sample?
Oh, God, it was so long ago. I don't even know if I remember it. It's been that long, a long time ago.
Well, 14, I don't think I remember anything from 14 either. From about 14 to 21, I don't remember much.
Yeah. I remember working very hard.
Yes.
So once I started singing, it was constant. Back in those days, you had to go to all the radio, you had to do a lot of road trips, just so much work. Nowadays, we have social media, and social media is great because you can just pop on the computer and talk to everybody, and it's wonderful. But back then, there was a lot of hard work, a lot of hard work.
A lot of road trips.
A lot of road trips, and very costly. It's very expensive to invest as an artist, right? It still is today, don't get me wrong. But, there were so many road trips, it would add up. But I paid my dues, I went everywhere. And I have to mention this because I think a lot of Madison. She is a very, very gifted young lady. She works really hard. She's out there doing what she needs to do. She's dedicated 100%. And that kind of takes me back, because that's how I was as a young girl. And
how old is she?
I think she's 15. Well, she was 15.
Oh my goodness.
I think she might be 16 or 17 now.
So she's about
she's
going
close.
down the same road you went.
Yeah, she went down the same road, or she's going down the same road. I just, I had bigger ambitions, right? I wanted to be in the international market. And so it happened. It happened. I was very blessed that CBS Records had been watching me as a child. And so when I turned 15, 16, they sent Manolo, who used to work with CBS Records, to come talk to me. And we signed an international contract. I moved to Mexico City, and
wow,
we were off and running.
Did your mom go with you?
My mom did. She managed me, and she moved to Mexico City with me. So
Where
we
did you live?
In a DLF over there by Mazatlan, Calle Mazatlan. There is
¿En qué colonia es?
Colonia, no recuerdo.
Yo vivía en Coyoacán toda mi vida. Es el centro de la ciudad.
En el centro. Estaba allí cerca del Parque España. Pero no recuerdo.
La Roma.
La Roma. It was in La Roma.
Ah, mi hijo vive en La Roma.
It was La Roma. That's what it was, yes. Porque yo iba mucho al parque. But yes, so my mother was not happy. She likes the States. She's a United States girl.
How long did she last? How long did she go? I can't stand this anymore.
Oh my gosh. We were there for almost 3 years. And she would come back often to the States. I would stay.
Yeah.
Well, even if I wasn't working, I would stay. I really liked living there. It's a fast pace world.
My dad, my stepdad, was he's my dad all my life since I was 3 years old. But anyway, he told me there are two things you need to live in Mexico. One, a good sense of humor. Two, lots of patience. Because you'll be waiting there 20 minutes for the food and it's still not here. He said, what's going on? And there was only one thing he didn't like about Mexico. we order his food, and he'd always say, "No beans. I don't want any beans."
Ah.
And if you're Mexican and you're making breakfast, you've got to put, and you're a chef, you must put beans on that plate. And no matter what he did, he couldn't get a
He
plate
always,
without any
he
beans.
always
But
had beans.
that's the only thing he didn't like about me. He loved everything else. He said it reminded him of his old country of I don't know how, but I guess the cobblestone streets in Puerto Vallarta and all that reminded him of England because he was born in
Wow.
Merthyr Tydfil in south of Wales.
Wow, interesting.
So tell us about your life alone in Mexico. Did you go to the beach?
I didn't, you know.
Yeah, always city girl.
I was a city girl. You know, most of the time I was working, and if I wasn't performing or touring, I was practicing or had my dancers. I was just one of those always working. It's funny because it doesn't even seem like work to me.
Yes.
You know, it's so normal.
Well, I was just saying, if you love what you do, no matter how long you work, how many hours you work in a day, it doesn't seem like work.
It doesn't seem like work.
Yeah.
And, you know, I work 7 days, 24/7, right? And so now, not just for myself, but now I run the company, right? So I have artists that I'm talking to constantly, every day, 24 hours a day. They'll call me, you know, 1, 2 in the morning because we're all awake.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's okay. I'm good with that. We're just that way. You know, Michelle Chel is the same way.
Oh, wow.
She works with her artists, you know, 1 or 2 in the morning. You come up with an idea. Oh my gosh, hey, you know, let's do this or let's do that. When the idea is fresh, you got to jump on it.
I hear her name so many
You know?
times a day. Always hearing Shelly is this and Shelly is that. It's just incredible.
It is. You know, it's so funny because when I was already
She must be super talented.
She is. She is. She's been doing this a very long time, like myself. And when we started out, she was like 9, I guess.
Oh.
And I was already 13, and I think Selena was like 11-ish. So we were like kind of a couple of years apart, all 3 of us.
Did you know Selena?
Yes, very, very well. We were very close. The whole family. I was very close with the whole family.
Oh my goodness.
So you know, Big Abe and Little Abby and Susie. Susie and I were the same age, and so we were really close. And Selena was the little one. The little one, you know, it's like she's the one. She's the. I have to say in a loving way, like the brat. Selena. You know what she did to me one time?
What did she do?
Oh my God, she was such a prankster. So we were spending the night, and that morning we were going to go, I don't know where, and I had boots, right? And so I had
Grand
boots.
Central Station.
It is. I had my boots, and when I woke up, I was rushing to get my boots on because we were running late. She put ice in my boots.
No!
And so I was like, here we go. I was like, oh my God. It was freezing. But she was such a prankster. And that was just her personality. And then Susie would say, Selena, you're going to get in trouble. But she was always doing jokes. I have such.
Did you pinch her or anything because of that?
I didn't, because to me it was funny. I mean, they were funny jokes, right?
Yeah.
They were funny. But she was always doing stuff like that. And you know, I think that part of her personality where she always wanted to have fun and just get along with everybody and trust everybody was part of the problem that led to what happened. You know, she was very, very trusting. And I remember back in the days, you know, Abraham would tell us, you can't be trusting. You can't be trusting. You've got to always be careful. And, you know, as kids, you don't listen. I mean, you don't pay attention, right? But Susie and Abby always paid real good attention. But Selena was kind of more like me. We were more free-hearted and just free soul. And it's a hard lesson learned, you know. It took me a long time to learn that lesson. You just don't trust everybody. And unfortunately, that was a big downfall, you know. You got to be very careful at what you do.
Who you let into your life.
Who you let into your life. And it's hard because when you're in the entertainment business, there's so many people that are there to help you.
A variety of
There's
personalities.
A variety of personalities. And then when you start working with them and dynamics change, you're still thinking that things are the same. And you're not realizing there's changes going on. You know, so
like for instance, going from $1,000 a day to $1 million.
Exactly.
Contracts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, and I bring that up again, it's just important that everybody's always very cautious and make sure, this is like one of the things I had to learn, always read your contracts. Everything you do needs to be in a contract. And I'm not saying anything bad about nobody, and friendships are great, and people love each other, and they have friendships all the time. But at the end of the day, business is business. Whether you're my best friend, whether you're my brother, whether you're my sister, contracts need to be made, right? And the reason you do that is because not that necessarily that you don't trust that person, but sometimes misunderstandings
To make
happen.
things clear.
To make things clear, exactly. And I had some friends in the business, and they were very close, and they made a deal, and one girl thought of it this way, and the other girl thought of it a different way, and because everybody sees it differently, it was the same thing, but they interpret it different.
It's how you interpret the contract.
Yes, it's how you interpret it. And they didn't have it in writing. It was all verbal.
Oh, no.
So then they ended up in a big fiasco, right? And so that's why it needs to be in writing. Because it's like, is the glass of water full or empty? You might see it full, I might see it empty. It's still the same glass. And so that's why you go, okay, the water is halfway empty today. But you got to be.
And then hopefully it'll get full again.
And it'll get full again. Exactly. So these are just little things that, you learn being in the business a long time. And I never saw the importance of it as a kid, as an artist, until much later. And so I preach it now. I talk about it often because I want to make sure people don't make mistakes that have been made by myself or by my friends, and they're always doing everything as best as they can.
Tell us, right to the camera, what would be the advice you give to a young 15-year-old girl wanting to get into the music business?
Well, the main advice is this. It's a career. It's a job, just like going to medical school. It's going to take all your time, and you must be dedicated. You must be a hard worker. And that is the most important part, giving yourself 100%. So if you have faith in yourself and in your work ethics, and of course, for me, God Almighty's always there, you can do anything you want to accomplish. And just because people tell you that you can't, doesn't mean that you can't. In fact, it actually can give you the strength to actually go beyond your limits and do more. And you see that and you hear that so many times. And, I'm going to talk about another big artist out there today, Lady Gaga. She was told by everybody, quit. You'll never make it. You're too fat. You're too ugly. You're not talented enough. And all she did was get all that negative and turn it all into a positive and say, I'm going to make it. Whether I'm fat, whether I'm thin, whether I'm, whatever, I'm going to do this. And she worked harder. So, if you work hard and you have a positive attitude and you have good work ethics, you can make it. You can do anything you set your mind to do. But you've got to remember, entertainment is just as important as college. If you're going to do it, you've got to do it well. Study your craft. If you're going to sing, study vocal lessons. I did. If you're going to act, study acting. I did. If you're going to model, study modeling. And as an artist that can do everything, you should study everything you can that goes with that profession. Mm-hmm. So when I was in Mexico City, I took acting, right? And it was funny because my Spanish wasn't that great, and nobody spoke English in my acting class.
That's
right?
when you learn how to say "tengo hambre."
That I knew her from right. But I had to learn scripts in Spanish, and it was challenging, because at that time my Spanish was very Tex-Mex, and so again I pushed the limits to learn my craft, and so that's the other thing: work hard, learn your craft. Perfect it as much as you can.
Can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
You know how I learned Spanish? By the grace of God. I was going to get married, right? So I go with my wife, my future wife, to the church, and I said, we want to get married. So he says, okay, you got to get confirmed, you got to get baptized, you got to get confirmed. And all this stuff, I couldn't believe it. And so he gave me some books. He says, oh, if you want to get confirmed, you got to pass these tests. So I took the books and I was walking home very happy with my prometida, and I opened one of the books and I suddenly realized it's in Spanish.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm a gringo, you're like from, California, like, I don't understand, how am I going to get married, So we run back to the Padre Domingo in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe. Uh-huh. And he said, please, can you give me the books in English? He says, you're in trouble. He did speak English. He says, you're in trouble now because you're not going to get married if you don't learn Spanish. I said, oh my gosh. My wife said, don't worry, I'll teach you.
Aww.
So she was a dentist, and, she knew how to speak very well. And so now I have a very large Spanish vocabulary.
That's good. That's good.
But there's one catch to it. My children always ask me, Papá, ¿cuándo vas a dejar de hablar como gringo? I can't lose the accent no matter what I try.
That is so funny.
Yeah,
That is
and
so
then
funny.
Americans, they detect some kind of an accent. So I guess 20 years in Mexico will give you an accent. I'm not sure. Yeah.
I think so. And it's funny, when I got back to the States,
Uh-huh.
I couldn't remember my English. And so I'm like, how do I say that
How do
in
I say
English?
English?
Yes, because I never spoke any English over there. And I was dreaming in Spanish. That was even weirder. So
That's when you know you become fluent.
Yeah, I became, really fluent because everything was Spanish. So yeah, when I came to the States, it was interesting to think that, how do I say that in English? I guess, wow, it was a change. But I had this amazing boyfriend at the time, and he was my first boyfriend, and he was, very helpful and helping me, work with my Spanish while I was there. So it helped a lot. It definitely did.
Well,
And then watching my novellas.
That's where I learned Spanish, and I don't know. You're triggering so many memories. I have advice for people out there who want to learn Spanish. You get immersed. I would try and read the paper every morning, even though I didn't know what I was reading. And another thing that really helped me, my prometida was from Mexico City, and I lived in Puerto Vallarta, so we had this long distance relationship. I would write her letters in English, and then open the dictionary and translate it word for word.
Yep.
So I was learning word for word, and then people would talk, and I say, "Oh, I heard that before. What does that mean?" And then they'd repeat, and that's how the way you learn Spanish.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that because in school, in my English class, my grades weren't that great, right? They weren't that bad either, but they weren't that great. And so I decided I wanted to take Spanish as an elective, and the principal told me, Michelle, it's not a good idea for you to do that because I had to maintain the AB honor roll because they let me tour, right? In order for me to leave school and tour and take my homework home, I had to have that AB honor roll. And she says, you won't be able to maintain it because you're not very strong in English. And I said, but
You mean Spanish?
in English.
In English, oh my
So she didn't want me to take Spanish because she's like, that's like your weakest subject.
Oh.
And I said to her, but I have to learn it. I have to perfect it. And she's like, okay, I'll give you 1 semester. Well, I took my 1 semester, and to me it was easier than English.
Oh, yes, it's phonetic.
It's phonetics. So, I had 99.9. I mean, I was, really good at my Spanish. I could read it, write it really well. And she's like, I'm so sorry. She apologized to me because she didn't want me to take it. And because she was afraid I would, bomb it.
I think it has something to do with the part of our brain that is the right-hand side. Musicians excel in right-hand side activity. And I had no idea at the time either, when I was young, very young, I had no idea that language is also part of the right-hand side.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know it until I experienced it. Because I was like you in school. I think the only reason I passed English was because of theater. And I was the only one that wanted to read in class. Who wants to read now? I do. And that helped me pass English. Otherwise, because my mother was a writer and my father was a writer, I didn't want anything to do with writing. And so I kind of rebelled so when I got to Mexico, you know how long it took me to learn Spanish?
How long?
2 months. I was conversational in 2 months.
Right, sure.
Because like I said, when I was hungry and my dad wasn't around and nobody that knew was around, how do you say it? I'm hungry.
Yes.
Give me food. So I had my best friend was this taco salesman. Well, he had a taco stand on the side, and everybody called him cuñado. And I'm still learning Spanish. I'm trying to figure out what cuñado is, cuñado this, and cuñado. And so finally, I asked somebody, what does cuñado mean? And he says, brother-in-law. And I said, why do people call you brother-in-law? He says, you haven't seen my sister, have you? His sister was very beautiful.
Oh.
Okay.
There you go.
So anyway.
So everybody was dreaming.
Yes. So tell me, you have such a beautiful, bubbly personality. I love you. I do. I love you.
I love you too, John. You're always positive and happy, and I love that. That's the way to be. We only have one life. We need to just enjoy it and go with it.
So tell me about your latest work. What are you working on?
Oh gosh, right now we have so much going on. So we are in the process of building new recording studios for Hacienda,
Wow.
And yes, we're real excited. We're going to be doing the green screen room so we can do more videos and more podcasts and expand. And boy, that's been so much work. Just, buying the property and getting it, redone and rebuilt and now building out. So that's what we're working on right now. We are going to be doing a video show for the company where we're going to be showing videos and a lot of old school, a lot of new school. And of course, I'm going to try to finish my album this year. So that's the other plan. I usually go on the back burner.
Because you've got artists.
Because we got a lot of artists and we got so much going on. And right now, honestly, Hacienda has a roster of wonderful artists. They're so talented.
Name a few.
So right now we have Johnny Bandana,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a great songwriter. We have Eddie Ray, who's also an incredible songwriter. We have the Tex-Mex Hippies, which are kind of a country rock Tejano combo. We got In Serio, which really has this different type of sound, And then of course we got Daniel Lopez, the Aventura, and they've been doing great right now. They just released a song with Los Dudes, and it's smoking the airways right now. It's doing really, really
Oh, wow.
good. Yeah. And it was so cute to see them all in action because, Los Dudes are legendary. They've been around forever. And it's just amazing to see these artists go in there and just jam. And of course we got Willie Cantu and the Starlight Band. They're doing really, really well. So we got a lot going on in the studio. And of course, my other half, my hubby, Robert Ybarra, he's been working really, really hard, getting everybody going and just producing a lot of really wonderful music. And when you have a gifted arranger producer like Robert, and then you have great songs, right? Because the songs are important. And then you got artists that are really, really good on top of that. It's just like it's a win-win for everybody. So we're real excited. So the studio's going great. The new studios hopefully will be built out in the next month and a half.
Oh wow, you're moving along.
We're moving fast.
Because I remember at the beginning of the year you were saying, I'm thinking about buying a property. And now here you are just about to finish in a couple months. That's wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you. So ya mero. And I'm one of those that I don't believe in resting. And so I'll just work around the clock and I'll tell the contractors, what can I do? Do you need me to go in there and paint that door for you? What can we do to move this along? But I'm one of those type. I don't believe in sitting still. I never have. In fact, I think back now and I think, I started dancing at 3. And so by the time, I don't know, maybe by the time I was 6 or 7, I was dancing 3 days a week. And as I got older, it was 3 days a week, 2 to 3 hours a day.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of practice.
It's a lot. So at 13, I had a scholarship to study dance in New York that the dance studio offered me because I was one of the best.
That's where you get your figure because now it's just muscle memory, right?
Most of it.
Yeah.
But it's going away, finally.
No, you can't say that.
It's like, oh my gosh. But I think back now, and I think that's probably why my mom put me in because I was such a hyper child.
And it gave you something to do.
It gave me something to do, and boy, would I embrace it, and I became obsessive over it. And so my thoughts as a young kid was, I'm going to dance on Broadway, and I'm going to go to New York, and I'm going to study. And so when the scholarship came my way, I guess, like I said, when I was about 12, Lisa Lopez was touring, and she was hitting really, really strong all over the world. And I was good friends with Lisa as well. And I would go on the road with her sometimes, and I remember I would watch her, and I would think to myself, wow, she's just standing there and singing.
Yes.
She didn't move. She didn't dance. She
didn't sweat.
She didn't sweat. And I thought, and she's making all that money.
Wow.
And I thought, that looks so easy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of when I started thinking, okay, because, Broadway, you sing and dance. It's just, they come hand in hand, right? I started thinking maybe I should sing, and then I don't have to work 100 hours a week in dancing.
I see. Yeah.
So I started thinking.
That's how you made the transition.
Yeah, that's how I started making the transition. That's when I asked my dad, "Can I do a demo?" And he said, "Absolutely not. No daughter of mine is going to be singing. You're going to take the scholarship, and you're going to go to New York. You've been working for this all your life."
Oh, that was that important.
It was that important. I had been working for that my whole life, and so
and you
the
gave it
answer was
up.
no. So.
I mean, you switched. I
gave it up. Yeah, I gave it up.
You switched your objective.
I switched my objective, but then I thought to myself, because at this time Michael Jackson was the only one that was dancing on stage, and so I said, well, why can't I dance on stage.
And sing.
And sing.
Yeah.
And so this is right when Madonna was coming out. And so I was coming out like at the same time. And she was dancing and I was dancing, but it was kind of like, in my mind, it was like it just goes hand in hand. It's like doing Broadway for a show.
You're a triple threat then.
You know?
You can act, you can dance, and you can sing.
I can do a little bit of it all. But yeah, so that's kind of, my dad was really against it. It was like, I didn't expect that because I kind of felt like, well, it's okay for Lisa to do it and Janie C to do it, but I can't do it, you know? And I have to say thanks to my...
He was just protecting
you.
He
was.
Protecting
I understand that now, but back in the day, I was very upset about it. And then my uncle, Rick, said, let her do a demo, get it out of her system.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I was like, oh, yay, he's going to let me do it. You know, my dad's like, okay, get it out of her system, and then that's it. We don't talk about this again. So I played my piano, and I sang my song, and then he goes to my dad, and he's like, I can make her another Lisa Lopez.
Wow.
And my dad was like, he didn't want to hear that. I heard them arguing. I could hear because I had my headphones on. They had the speaker on. And I was like, yay, Daddy, please, Daddy, please. So it was interesting how it all started.
Speaking of your song, what do you want us to play? I'm going to show it right here. What song do you want us to play?
Gosh, whichever one you want. I mean, I like them all. I love them all. Whatever you want to play, I'm good with.
Okay, here we go. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, well, thank you.
It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
And it is a pleasure being with you. And quiero mandar saludos otra vez to everybody out there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. Y que Dios les bendiga a todos.
No estás y no encuentro ningún razón porque te fuiste sin decirme adiós. Yo pensaba tenerte junto a mí, pero en realidad es que ya te perdí. Ando pensando, tratando de figurar a dónde fue. Hoy se lo das a ella y sufriré cuando me despierto y no te encuentro ya. Tu calor se ha vuelto en soledad porque tu cariño hoy compartes con alguien más. Pensaba tenerte junto a mí, pero en realidad es que ya te perdí. Ando pensando, tratando de figurar a dónde fue, en qué le hice mal y sufriré cuando anhelo con solo y solo encuentro el destino cruel porque tu pasión hoy se lo das a él.